Hello and welcome back everyone to Tech Intel Tuesday. This is my weekly opportunity to hop on and talk about all things tactical intelligence. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and that'll let me know that you want more Tech Intel Tuesday videos. Today we're talking about the 3 intelligence imperatives, the 3 things I think you should be doing right now so that you can be prepared to deal with the emergencies of tomorrow. We are connected to and in many cases dependent on fragile and failing infrastructure, to include our own political, social, and economic institutions. And these things are going to continue to get more fragile. They're going to continue to fail. And so preparedness to me is a lot more than just guns and food and bug out bags. There are a lot of tools to deal with problems out there. Traditional prepper stuff like food and bug out bags solve only a limited range of problems. I mean, food solves basically one problem. You can eat it, and that's about it. Maybe barter with it. Guns and ammo solve a very specific problem, but intelligence can be used for all problems. In fact, there is not a single problem that you will face that intelligence can't help solve or can't help play a role in. And that is the focus of this week's video, because intelligence helps us solve problems. Now, we could be looking at a failed election this year, maybe another financial crisis and recession next year, maybe another year of rioting, a sovereign debt crisis, war with China, war with Russia, war with X country, a crippling cyber attack, and lots worse things in the years to come. And the 3 things that I cover today will help you deal with all of that, regardless of what happens. So without further ado, the top thing you should be doing right now is an area study. And there's a really good reason why I harp on the value of an area study. And that's because I understand what it can be used for. There's a misconception of what an area study is. Yes, it's a collection of information. Yes, it is a reference guide for all the knowledge that we need to know about our operational environment. Our operational environment is all the things that surround us that aren't us and aren't the enemy. They're the moving parts of our community that can either be used for us or against us. But an area study is a lot more than just a knowledge document. This is like calling a Ferrari a car. Yeah, sure, a Ferrari is a car, but it is way more than that. The area study is the basis for all preparedness and security planning. It is a blueprint for action. And we do an area study because we need intelligence on 2 things. Number 1, what are we up against? And number 2, what do we have to work with? And it doesn't matter if you're expecting a cyber attack or a grid down event, an EMP, hyperinflation, societal collapse, war with China, civil war, whatever. You will be forced to deal with the local effects of these national or strategic events. I'm not so much concerned about an EMP. I am extremely concerned about the follow-on effects of an EMP and how that affects me and my family at my doorstep. Those are the local effects that I need to be planning for. And so it's these follow-on effects that impact you at the local level. We call this the tactical level. And those follow-on effects are exactly what we should be preparing for. So we are specifically developing local intelligence for 6 key concerns, and they're broken up into 2 categories. The first 3 are threats, hazards, and vulnerabilities. These are the specific things at your local tactical level that we should be preparing for. And to tackle these, we need to do a threat assessment. And this is a major component of an area study. Not just a general threat assessment, but we need to take a look at each of these threats and hazards and assess them individually and figure out what resources we need to deal with them. We need to figure out how to prioritize them, which has a higher impact or a higher likelihood. And really, we need to be preparing primarily for the high impact, high likelihood events that we're going to face. If you haven't done a threat assessment, then you are not prepared for the risk. And then we also have vulnerabilities. X event happens. I'm not prepared for X event. I am vulnerable to this. Or Y or Z happens, and here are the follow-on effects of Y and Z. And of the 5 follow-on effects, I'm not prepared for 3. And maybe I can't prepare for one of these, like flooding. How am I going to prepare for flooding other than being prepared to bug out? So that makes me vulnerable. I'm incredibly vulnerable to a flood or a flash flood or whatever, because I have no recourse other than to probably leave the area. So we do a threat assessment as a part of our area study. Now, this area study is part of what I refer to broadly as area intelligence, and is not just about assessing the threats. We also have the second category of things, which are our assets, resources, and opportunities. And this is what we have to work with at the local level. So it's not just trying to find the bad stuff, it's also trying to find the good stuff or the potentially good stuff, the neutral stuff that I can turn into a positive. You can build some really incredible strategic advantages for yourself by identifying local assets, such as people and organizations who are willing to cooperate and work with you, by identifying resources like material goods and production equipment and facilities, and then also by identifying opportunities. And those could be commercial, financial, economic opportunities. They could be intelligence networking opportunities or cooperative opportunities. For instance, linking up with your local VFW, your Veterans of Foreign Wars, or your local American Legion, or your local bears, mooses, and whatever you have in your area. And, or linking up with established groups who are already in your area. They're already established. They're already organized. They are like-minded people. They're pointed in the same direction as you. Yeah, let's all hop on board and push this boulder uphill. Let's all push in the same direction here. So you don't have to go it alone. In a lot of places, there are already individuals or organized groups that you can probably work with. So in our area study, we're identifying all the bad stuff and then identifying all the good stuff or the potentially good stuff. And this becomes a blueprint for action. And it is a blueprint for preparing for the bad things and then making the most of the good things. And we ultimately want our stack of good things to be bigger than our stack of bad things. And this is why we do an area study. What this allows you to do is get a really good comprehensive picture of your area. It enables you to assess your area and really take a hard look at, is this area viable? Is this area survivable? Would I be better off leaving? Would I be better off staying? If I'm going to leave, then we need a mission plan for that process. What does leaving look like? And what are the challenges we're going to face? What are the threats and hazards during this bug out? Or are we going to stay? And if I'm going to bug in my neighborhood, which I am, then who are the people who surround me? Who can I go ahead and start linking up with and building relationships with today? We can do all this stuff and a whole lot more in your area study. Now, our goal here is to use this area intelligence process, which includes a threat assessment and then this overall area assessment. If you haven't done an area study, then you're leaving some threats and hazards unidentified, and you're probably leaving some assets and resources off the table as well. I don't know about you, but I want everything that I can get, every potential asset resource, and take every potential opportunity that I can find in my local area, because this is what gives me big advantages over everybody else. By the way, if you want information on threat analysis and how to prepare for threats, I have 300 threat assessment guides I'm giving away. I'm going to start sending those out next week. If you want information on how to get one for free, then head over to areaintelligence.com and sign up, and I will let you know when we start shipping those out. Now, the second thing I would think everyone should be doing right now is network development. You should be building a local intelligence network or information sharing network if you prefer. I can see how intelligence network might rub some people the wrong way, especially in today's environment. So you can call it an information sharing network if that takes the edge off for some people. But whatever you call it, you need one. And there are two expedited ways to start building your local intelligence network. The first is to start with your family and friends who are like-minded. Several years ago, I started a county preparedness network because I knew that there were people who were of like mind. I knew there were a lot of preppers in my area of Central Texas, and I started holding monthly meetings, and I invited all these people out, and then other people started joining, and now we have a really solid group of sensors who can share information and improve everyone's situational awareness. And I called them sensors because in the Army, we said every soldier is a sensor, which meant that every soldier can see and hear things, and every soldier has an obligation to pass information up the chain. And our community is the same way. Every friend is a sensor. Every neighbor is a sensor. And if I'm not organizing their efforts to feed me information, then I'm failing as the intelligence guy. And if you're the intelligence guy or gal, then you should be organizing their efforts as well, and this becomes your local intelligence network. And the second way to build an intelligence network is to start or join a neighborhood watch. This is a de facto intel network because the goal is to observe and report suspicious activity. People are functioning as intelligence sources, even though they may not think of themselves as intelligence sources. But that's exactly what they are and exactly what they're doing. And you can start and run a neighborhood watch in conjunction with your county sheriff's office, which will lend you some legitimacy and probably some local contacts, maybe very good local contacts as well. And this may not be ideal for all locations, but if you have a solid sheriff and some good neighbors who share your concerns about crime and potential disruption, then I would say run, don't walk, and start up a neighborhood watch. My goal is to spend the next couple of months getting everyone through their area studies. And then I'm going to start hammering on intelligence networks, sharing with you how I've built my own intel network, and then also discussing some tradecraft that's going to help you along the way. If you're on that area intelligence wait list, then you will start to get my emails on intelligence networks as well. And then last but not least, now is also the time to start developing the rest of your intelligence capabilities. So last week, I talked about the 4 primary intelligence gathering methods: human intelligence, open source signals, and imagery. And it would behoove you to build at least a basic collection capacity for all 4. We covered human intelligence, or HUMINT, just now. This can be accomplished by building your local information sharing network. We can get a lot more advanced on this topic, but even if it's just friends and family and or a neighborhood watch, then you will have a basic network that you can start growing. Next is open source, or OSINT. We talked about some ways to automate OSINT collection in the last video. One of the most important things I think you can be doing is finding your local news sources, and I would include the individual reporters and news personalities in there as well. Track down their personal social media accounts, or at least their public-facing social media accounts, and monitor those websites and social media accounts for information of intelligence value. You can use an aggregator like Feedly to follow certain websites, and we can also see all the news stories that those websites are publishing. And then you can also start a new Twitter or X account or a new Facebook account, even if it's under a different name, and follow those local news sources and especially those reporters. I can't tell you how many times, and the 2020 riots was really a great example of this, where I saw something that had intelligence value in a reporter's tweet that did not make it into the news article, or especially the people that were live streaming those riots. That was just a mass of information of intelligence value in those videos that I would not have gotten by reading a news article or even watching a news report. So go find those primary sources and then aggregate or monitor. For signals intelligence, or SIGINT, this is the third type of intelligence discipline, get a good police scanner if your local emergency services are not encrypted. Also, get a good radio receiver so that you can listen in on the ham bands as well. This may not be as important on an average day, but when something does pop off locally, you're going to want those immediate firsthand accounts of what's happening in your local level. And also, we're just covering the basics here just to get started. I know some of you have been watching this channel for a long time. Maybe you've been to one of my tactical intelligence courses where I teach you basic and advanced collection methods for all this. And if that's you, post your questions or comments below, or shoot me an email. Maybe you drop me a line on Twitter or X or Instagram. It's just at Grayzone Intel, and I will answer your questions on a future TAC Intel Tuesday episode. And then finally, we have imagery intelligence, or IMINT. Some people rope in geospatial intelligence, or they put imagery under geospatial, but this is stuff like drones and drone feeds, video feeds, photography, then maps and map data as well. I'm a huge fan of drones. We've used them in a couple of intelligence gathering exercises. I do plan on getting my 107 license at some point in the future. And I do run a few drones as a hobbyist. But other than that, I use GIS systems like Google Earth, or especially QGIS. And then I try to find as many maps of my area as I can, because each map shows me a different picture of the area. In terms of real-time collection, drones are going to be your primary ISR tool, which is ISR is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And those are the 3 things I think you should be working on right now. Number 1, your area study. Number 2, your intel network. And then number 3, building out your collection capability. If you build all 3 of these, even to a rudimentary level, then you're going to be in a much better position than your peers, because intelligence gives us early warning. It gives us baseline knowledge for security planning. It's also useful for training, because we can train for specific events or specific scenarios based on what we find in our area study. And then finally, real-time intelligence drives real-time operations. The guy who thinks that he's just going to go kit up with his buddies and go run around in a woods without any kind of intelligence capabilities or reach back support is going to have a bad time. And they're going to figure that out eventually. But really, they should be figuring that out sooner, much rather than later. As always, post your questions and comments below. Thanks for watching. And until next time, be well and stay out front.